Hey guys, welcome back to my devlog series, a guide to making indie games. Each week I share a little bit of the game I'm working on, as well as giving some helpful advice on how you can make your own games. So last week we continued making progress on our prototype, as well as talking a little bit about the concept of game feel. I still think there's a lot of work to be done, but I wanted to take a little break from that to share a new side of game development. Art direction is extremely important, and believe it or not, how your game looks massively relates to how your game feels to play. Today, I want to show you how I design characters for my games. It's a pretty big topic, so bear with me. Real quick, if you enjoy these videos and want to see more, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more devlogs every week. I'd really appreciate it. So before we even begin thinking about character design, we have to talk about art direction. You probably have an idea in your head for how you want your game to look. Maybe you have some other games you're taking inspiration from. That's great, that's a perfect place to start. If you've been following these devlogs so far, you'll probably already know that I'm a huge fan of making mood boards. It's the perfect format to collect and mold ideas. We already have a mood board for our overall game, but today we're going to make a few more. Let's start by making an art direction mood board, so that way we have an idea of what our game will actually look like. While you're looking for stuff to put on here, start thinking about what feelings you want your game to evoke. If you're making a horror game, find some other games or movies or books that have the same kind of feeling you're trying to portray. Maybe it's a game that starts out cute and slowly turns unsettling. You could throw Care Bears and Jigsaw on there. There's really no rules as long as you're getting a better picture in your head. I'll share a little bit about my game. A group of college students wake up in a reality TV show death game where they have to race through obstacles in order to stay alive. Even in just one crazy sentence, there's a lot of places you can draw ideas from. Art style wise, I really love late 90s hip-hop aesthetic with dark city streets and graffiti, but there's still this pop of color from streetwear. I've been watching the show called Ikebukuro Westgate Park. It's a really unique look into 90s Japan with some really cool fashion, so stuff like this I'm just throwing right onto the mood board. You can even get a bit more specific and find video game art styles you want to take inspiration from. Celeste is a big one for me. You just want to get a clear picture in your head of what your game could end up looking like. Plans change, of course, but this is a great place to start. Now that we have an idea of our game's art direction, it's going to be a lot easier to design characters. Today we're going to work on the protagonist of my game, Junebug. I've had the idea for this character for a very long time. She's a bit of an outcast, she doesn't really understand what her purpose is in life, and in a lot of ways she's the perfect perspective for the player. In my mind, her job is to make the other characters shine. Of course, there could be nuances to her as we get to know her better, but because I want the player to put themselves in her shoes, she's a bit of a blank canvas. These are things you want to keep in mind when you're creating your player character. Having a big personality is great because you can use that to develop them and tell a meaningful character arc, but being more subtle can also make the character more relatable to people. What about Link from Zelda? He's another blank slate character. Sure, he's the hero of time and all that stuff, but his personality is really whatever the player wants it to be. Comparing that to someone like Dante from Devil May Cry, he's brimming with personality. All those games are about learning who he is and what he values. There are pros and cons to both kinds of characters, but it's important to decide this stuff now so you can apply it to your art designs. So back to Junebug. The next thing I want to do is create another mood board just for her. I've already drawn her like 100 times by now, but let's start fresh so you can see the whole process. I made a short list of all of her most important features and character traits. This is something you can do after the mood board if you want, but it'll at least get some ideas going. Remember, stealing ideas isn't okay, but transforming and mixing ideas is where you get the good stuff. Next, we can go a little bit deeper and make some style choices. I like to find some clothes that fit the vibe of my character. Because I'm going for a 90s hip-hop style, a lot of the characters are going to be very flashy and extravagant in what clothes they wear, but Junebug is still a bit of a plain Jane, so I kept things simple. Again, character design can be a very different process depending on what kind of game you're making, but this system just works well for me. Once we have the visual essentials, we can start drawing them. If you're new to art and can't draw something super detailed, that's totally okay. Just start with stick figures. Personally, I like to find a good reference to base the pose off of. I use a pencil and paper to do a very rough sketch before I turn it into pixel art. At the beginning of my character design journey, I would trace over character templates and draw the rest of the details later. and that's totally fine, whatever makes this process easier for you. This is just to get a good composition in your mind for what they could look like, so don't worry too much about making it look good. No one has to see this but you, unless you're me, I guess. Color palette is also something you think about. Find out what colors work well together and what don't. If you struggle with that kind of thing, there's this really awesome website called LowSpec that has a bunch of color palettes you can use for free. Especially if you're making pixel art, definitely think about your color palette. Junebug unfortunately resembles Marge Simpson if you squint hard enough, but I like the blue and yellow together. I think it'll make her really pop in front of dark backgrounds. Here's something very important that you should know about character design. In this video, you're only seeing the big milestones of design. Yes, I use mood boards to piece together a design I want. Everything I told you is true, and it's a good way to get started, but designing characters isn't a quick process. Chances are that you won't get it right on your first try, and that's very normal. I just want to be transparent with you that I've been working on Junebug's character design for months. Probably doesn't seem like it because it's such a simple design, but this stuff takes time and many different drafts. If you're also making a game and have time constraints like I do now, at some point just decide on a design and stick to it, or else you'd never get anything done. I'm sure I'll share more of the process as I design more characters, but for now, this is the bare necessities to get yourself started. So once you have a character design you feel happy with, it's time to turn them into a sprite. From this point on, I'm going to be very specific to pixel art as opposed to other art forms because there are lots of hidden rules in pixel art that go a very long way. A lot of this will probably relate to all art forms though. I had a lot of people ask me what pixel art editor I used in my last video. This is called Sprite. You can find it on Steam, but there are tons of other free options out there that I recommend you try first. Sprite does have a lot of great tools for game development though, so that's why I like using it. The first thing we have to decide is our canvas size. The thing about pixel art is once you make one sprite, the rest of the game has to reflect that. For example, if you make a really detailed and expressive character sprite, the rest of the game also needs to be really big and detailed. There's certainly a benefit to having more detail, but it really depends on what kind of game you're making. To put it plainly, more detail just means more work. So for me, I want to keep my sprites small. There are also some invisible rules to follow when it comes to pixel art. For example, platformers usually have much smaller sprite sizes because they need to be smaller on the screen itself. That way you can pay more attention to the environment and avoid hazards. But a game like Street Fighter 2, where you need to see all of the small movements of a character, large sprites are actually necessary. Again, I'm super inspired by other pixel art games like Celeste. The small chibi art style can be tricky to pull off, but the most important thing is having a big old head. You want to highlight the stuff you want the player to see, so in this case, giving Junebug a big head and big hands. My process is pretty similar to molding clay. It starts as just a blob, but I slowly carve out the most important shapes. Another concept you should be aware of in any form of art is silhouette. I'll talk about this more in future character designs, but you want the character to be recognizable even if there wasn't any color involved. Junebug isn't the best example for this, but I think you get the idea. The only other thing to do is detailing and shading. Don't go too crazy with this because it'll make it harder to animate later, but just add some dimension to emphasize the curves and whatnot. If you're making pixel art, it's also a good idea to decide whether or not you want an outline for your sprites. Personally, I like having a black outline because it makes the player more readable against different backgrounds, but of course it's not a required thing. There are other important rules to pixel art. You'll hear things like don't break your palettes or don't make jagged lines. These rules are good to keep in the back of your head, but you should never limit your creativity. After that, you have yourself a sprite. You might be wondering why we spend all that time doing concept art if we're just going to end up with something small like this. And there are a lot of reasons. For one, when we eventually animate this character, now we have a good reference. We know more about her. There's also the fact that this is a story-driven game, so I plan on having more detailed character portraits during dialogue to show all of her expressions and emotions. Character design and concept art can seem like an unnecessary step at first, but it goes a long way and makes everything much easier later down the line. So I hope this video was helpful for creating your own character designs, or at least getting started. I'm sure I'm going to talk about this topic a lot more in the future, but I hope this will get you moving in the right direction. Your homework for this week is to design a character. You can join our Discord in the description down below and send us what what you've made. Next week, I will finally be finishing the prototype, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you very soon. Peace.